this pedophile, horrible human, Jeffrey Epstein, and I guess I'll let you take it away since you clearly have some thoughts.
Well, recently, for the people who don't know, I did a radio show, and I was asked about Jeffrey Epstein. And I briefly touched on this at another period, but we really didn't get deep into it. And on the radio show, we really didn't either. They just asked me, why do I have such strong opinions of what happened to him? And I said, well, first, I don't think it's okay that any of us forget how many kids were affected by whatever happened to them on that island sexually, underage, and nobody else has been arrested. Nobody's names have came forward, and that's not okay. If this is going to be a justice system, it's got to be one for all, right? And especially when it's crimes against our kids. So I don't want to let that situation go. I'm not going to be just, time went by and we forget about it. Like this country's used to with everything, with 9/11 or anything else. That does not just disappear. So I spent over 4 years in MCC, where Jeffrey Epstein was. So I know what it is to be on the 10th floor in those solitary confinement cells where Jeffrey Epstein was. I know what it is to be a high-profile inmate like Jeffrey Epstein was. Well, actually, he was probably the number one highest profile inmate in this country, in probably ever, I would think, because of his involvement with so many people on all sides of the aisle in other countries, and he was also accused of being an operative. Whether that's true or not, who knows?
So, what you saying?
What I'm saying, he definitely did not kill himself. That's 110%.
Okay.
So
then what happened?
Now, what happened is our Attorney General Barr completely lied to every citizen in this country when he said that he was going to look into the investigation. And I believe he was in Texas when he said, somebody asked him, one of the media outlets asked him, Barr, did you look into this? And he said, yes, I did. And there was nothing there to look into, so I dropped it. And then the follow-up question was, what do you mean there was nothing there for you to look into? And he says, well, I watched the video and no one entered the tier. Stop right there. So what Attorney General Barr said is, all you people are too fucking stupid, so I can really abuse you all. I don't want to sound like my cousin Vinny, abuse yous. I don't want, and I'm going to insult everybody's intelligence. But he forgets that a lot of us dummies that were in jail know the system. And here's the system for the people who don't know. If a count is not cleared because he said 2 guards fell asleep and did not do the count, so they did not find Epstein dead until the next morning. That's so fucking insulting and laughable, because if that occurs, then they hit the deuces in the jail. They try to contact the guards upstairs, and it can't be 1, it's got to be 2. Have to walk and do counts. So I'll walk you through that. When they do a count, they go into each cell, and if somebody's not moving, they kick the door or bang the door. If it's a dorm-like cell, they hit your rack, your bunk, with their stick or their light, and they make you move your foot or your hand, because in the past there was dead bodies, and they had to make sure while you're sleeping you're really alive, not dead. Okay. In these lockdown cells, there's cameras in a lot of the cells, and there's cameras on the tier. So when Barr said that nobody went on the tier, it's impossible, because you need 2 guards. If they fall asleep, they can't, because control downstairs calls up, and they cannot clear the count in the building. And if that's what occurs, they don't clear the count. They hit the deuces because they think there's a hostage situation upstairs in that tier if nobody answers. Or they think the guards were killed. So they cannot, nobody moves, they lock down the whole facility. Whether there's any movement at all in that facility by anybody, it's completely stopped. They bring their, what they call, different, depends on the jail itself, what they call their units, special units. And they'll call outside SWAT to come to the building with armed enforcement because they're worried about hostages, prison breaks, and murder of the guards.
Okay, so in your best opinion, what do you think took place?
So,
I love how excited you get about this.
yeah, I'm excited because he got caught blatantly lying, Barr. So, if this occurs and they claim to be sleeping, right, they would come up initially and see that they're sleeping, wake them up and do the count, right? That didn't happen. And the 911 tapes have disappeared because they only have to keep them for a year.
Wait, wasn't there also something that, like, the two guards that were supposed to be doing something were asleep?
Yeah, it's impossible.
By coincidence, both are, like, asleep or something like that?
Yeah, it's impossible because they wake them up and tell them to go do the count. But here's how they killed them. So, okay. For you, most likely.
Wait, can I tell you my prediction and you tell me if you think this is right?
Yeah.
I feel like they said between this time and this time we're not going to come bother you, basically. You know the details more than I do. We're not going to come bother you. Here's how you're going to do it. Go do it. And then he did it. Or no, and then so they facilitated the act. Like I think that he didn't, like, when people say like he didn't kill himself, I think maybe he was the one. I think that there was a system put in place to help facilitate and look like he killed himself, but it wasn't. That's not really killing yourself.
You have when an inmate tries to kill himself. Let me back up, which he did supposedly prior. He's then put in what they call a toilet paper wrap, right? They take all his clothes, they take anything he can kill himself with, any kind of cover, so he can't take the strings out of it and hang himself. Everything's happening. He's in a cambered cell where he even showers in there. They turn the shower on at whatever time. There's a mic inside the room. They tell him, get up and shower, and they turn it on. Whatever time they feel like turning it on, whether it's 2 in the morning, 4 in the morning. It's a nice shower. He gets up. If he doesn't get up, they turn it off after 5-10 minutes. Yeah. Now, control room has the cameras. There's several places in that building besides control room, if there's any kind of shortage, anything goes wrong, that they also have access to the camera work through the facility. It's not just one control room only. On the floor itself, it has their own cameras also. But what happened, in my opinion, is we get fed through a mail slot 3 times a day. Now you have inmates, influxes of inmates that are moving in and out from solitary confinement and throughout the jail daily. So, in my opinion, they brought in 2 operatives into solitary confinement.
And beat the shit out of them?
No. Put them in those cells. Whether those guards, most likely were 2 guards that they took off that shift, and they probably had operatives there also. Right? Now they're set up. Because the whole jail isn't in on this murder. So maybe, if anything, the warden knew what was going on. Because he's got to have access to get these other guards into that facility. They feed them through a mail slot. They drug him when they feed him.
Oh.
So his last meal is, depending on when they feed us, but 4:30, say, is our dinner meal. They drug him. He's out cold. The inmates are all there. He's sleeping. They have keys to their cells. They let themselves out. They kill him and make it look like a hanging suicide.
Wait. You said that the other inmates killed him?
No, other inmates are in the cell. So later on at night, when everybody's asleep, they let themselves out. They kill Epstein. They let themselves back in their cell. And the process...
Wait, who's they?
Whatever operatives they placed in other solitary
So, okay, but who...
cells.
Okay. But, oh, I see.
Now...
I see. So it's basically like hitmen, operatives. So they put them as like... So you think that they kind of like hide these guys in other cells as if they're inmates, correct?
Exactly.
And then, but they give them the key.
Because there's daily movement every day from inmates in and out of solitary, in and out the whole jail.
Right. So then they say, okay. So they basically reserve, let's say, like a room or two to put these operatives in that are just going to be like just hanging in there for the day. And then they know that between 3 and 6 a.m. Epstein's going to be out cold. And they let themselves out, and they also have the key to the other one. Mm-hmm. And then they go in, and then they... How do you think they killed him?
They kill him, make it look like it's a suicide, which the first autopsy, he says, no, it's not consistent with suicide. It's consistent with strangulation. He was killed.
So
Later on, they overrule that, right? Well, they make it look like suicide, but they choke him to death. They strangle him. They snap his larynx. Now, how do they get back out of those cells? When there's a movement, whether it was a movement later that day...
Wait, but hold on. Who do you think these operatives have been sent by?
CIA.
Oh.
You got to remember something. Let me give something for people that don't know. When Nixon was in office, Spiro Agnew was the VP. Gerald Ford was head of the Warren Commission. He cleared everybody about the killing of JFK. When he clears everybody at JFK, Gerald Ford never got voted in anywhere. They arrest Spiro Agnew and charge him with a crime. He's out as VP. They replace him and reward Gerald Ford as the VP without being voted on by the public because of what he did for the Warren Commission for them. Mm. Now he's the VP. And then they go after Nixon. And when Nixon gets impeached and steps down, Gerald Ford steps in. That's our deep state. That's our CIA. And there's no different here. They got rid of him. And later on in the day, that same day or 2 days later or 3 days later, those guys stayed in those solitary confinement cells and they shipped them back out like any other inmate walking in or out. Now, to say that no one walked in that tier is the most ludicrous, ridiculous thing because there's 2 counts in the middle of the night. So would these guys just sleep through the night? Mm-hmm. And you can't sleep through the night, even if they did with the dumb excuse Barr said that no one ever came in, because they would think what I said earlier. It's a hostage situation. The guards were killed or an escape. All 3 of those things makes them hit the deuces, lock down the jail, hit all kinds of alarms, and everybody's on the move to find out what's going on upstairs. None of that occurred.
Okay, but then who's calling the shots to the CIA to be those operatives? Like, there's somebody...
Whoever's calling the shot for the CIA. The same reason...
So why would the CIA not want Epstein alive? Because he has a lot of information.
Information on how many of our presidents, senators, judges, Supreme Court judges, kings and queens from other countries on Epstein Island. Fauci, Gates, his wife said
I remember
she's hanging around with him.
I remember that.
So they weren't just having pie and coffee with him. I mean, we know what was going on there. So, you got people going there, the powerhouses, billionaires of this country, and the elite are going there. Now, if they're committing these crimes, they don't want it out, right? But everybody else's case, what was that? The guy just got convicted of killing his wife and his daughter. They had him on the news every day. They televised his case. Why wasn't this case televised? Why is it behind closed quarters? Why is it, what's going on here that it's okay for all these kids? R. Kelly, let's use him as an example, right? Singer. He's paying girls to have sex together. Paid them. He didn't force him. He didn't kidnap him. He didn't do anything.
Force, I think he
No, they were
definitely.
underage and he paid.
Okay.
They came forward and they said, but here's the problem. Is it because he's R. Kelly and he's just a black man, another black man that, okay, we can convict him for all this, but any of these elite, oh, we can't convict them. So how's his justice system fair? That's why I go back into, when they want to say it's fair, you're insulting all our communities. There's nothing fair about this. And one of the biggest sexual crimes and pedophile crimes in the history of this country, and not one person is locked up, not one person's name's exposed.
Yeah. No, yeah. So you think it was 2 operatives that went in there in the night and choked him to death, basically, and then set it up as a suicide?
It could have been 1, but I think it was 2.
Interesting.
It's easier to move them around with 2 people, especially if they're hanging them.
Who do you think knows for sure? The CIA?
If I say who I think knows.
Yeah, you got to be careful.
Well, it's kind of obvious who knows if
Yeah.
because it's all those people that were there at that island.
No, I'm saying who knows
detective.
who knows what actually happened when he died.
Oh, well, Maxwell, she has a good indication who was
But you think
his
she knows?
girlfriend that was bringing everybody.
You think she knows how he died?
Oh, 100%. I think she understands and knows what happened.
But I honestly think she's just as scummy as him.
Well, she is.
I would even say she's worse.
She is
borderline worse.
But she is. But all the people that were there are worse. Are worse.
Oh,
All
you mean
those
on the
people.
island? No,
On the
I'm
island.
saying not strip aside the island for a second. I'm saying when he died in the jail.
I mean,
Who knows? Who do you think knows how
do
he
you-
died exactly?
I think she does. But how do you convict her now? I think she got 20 years. How do you convict her to 20 years of facilitating all the sexual acts when you're not saying who she's facilitated with? If I was her, I would say, well, I didn't facilitate it with nobody. Who are you talking about? Why is this all so closed up? If somebody rapes a child, why is it not evidence? Because if you make a certain amount of money, then that doesn't count. You can rape whoever you want. Then you're good. You're good to go. Oh, your salary's over $1 million. The $1 million's not enough. It's $100 million. Yeah, that's enough. Okay, so you get to rape any kid you want. I mean, it's incredible. Listen, just recently on the news, a young girl, 8 years old, had, I believe, sampled 69 different DNA samples in her body from being child trafficked. And no one's saying anything about it. How is this okay? I mean, it just hit the news and that was it. But that's not the only child. There's 1 million kids here now because of what's going on with the situation, with the borders and everything. It's not okay that these kids are getting raped and abused and tortured and killed and separated from their families like this. And people just ignore it and go about their busy day. It's not right.
So, going back to Ghislaine, though.
So Barr is really should be on the hot seat. So Congress, well, you're not doing anything. Why aren't you calling him in and asking him what is he talking about that nobody went in the tier? That's fucking impossible. It's impossible. Or they monkeyed around with that tape. Obviously, if you said nobody
for
went
sure.
in the tape. But who gets rid of the 911 tape? It's a year old. Not for this case, it ain't. For a case of anybody else calling, hello, 911, yeah, domestic fight. Yeah, okay, after a year, they dispose of that. This, they ain't never disposing it.
Were you in the same exact cells, like those exact?
Yeah. I was up in those solitary cells.
What were they like?
Very solitary. Not typical. It doesn't, listen, people say you could be in a low facility. Allen would say. Allenwood low, Allenwood medium, penitentiary, Allenwood. A solitary cell in lockup is the same. It's a 8x6 basically cell with a steel little bird sink there and a steel toilet and your bullshit rack with a little blanket or a sheet, and that's it. That's your cell. There's nothing there. And it's the same. You're in lockdown with a little mail slit in the middle of the door. You got a little square window that's wired and secured with the. It's not glass. It's that hard, thick, or like kind of bulletproof, so you can't break them. And that's it. You stay there 24/7. You may get out a couple of days into another cell, which you're supposed to legally, but you really don't. And some of the cells don't have showers in them, so they move you and shower you 3 times a week. Cuff you put your hands behind the doors, they cuff you. Some, depends on your jail, if you're shackled, what your situation is. When I was in Falkenberg, they would shackle me and actually keep one hand shackled to the bars.
While
So I
you're
was
showering?
never free, even when I was showered. I'd only shower with one hand. They used to foot shackle me, belly shackle me, and my hands on a telephone. And I would get...
Yeah. Yeah. It's, so So basically the conclusion of today's episode is that you believe John Alite was killed by... that you, John Alite, believe that Jeffrey Epstein was killed by the CIA.
100%. Not believe, I know it as a
You
fact.
know.
And I know the DOJ 1,000% lied. So when they smile and look at the camera and they try to talk like they're so forcefully telling the truth, if they lie about that, they lie about almost everything. And that's the problem. They are not accountable to the American people like people think. And they're so naive to believe they are. They're accountable to their power and their money. Like every empire through every country in every world. And we don't talk politics here. But I'm going to say one thing. It doesn't matter if you're left, right, or middle. Insist on freedom of speech. That's what our lives are born and built on, and all the sacrifices about. And I really mean that.
I agree. All right. Well, I think that was a very substantial, in-depth view of...
And I challenge you, Attorney General
Barr?
Barr.
Yeah, come on the show.
Come on the show.
He won't.
No, he won't.
He
He's
would
scared
never.
to come on because we have too much knowledge with this.
Anyway.